Alright, this is going to be a good one. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this. Today I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about chain conversion. Or more specifically, how to do a chain conversion on your Savage. A lot of the information in this video is not Savage specific. You can use that information to do a chain conversion on any bike. But there will be a few details that are specific to the Savage. To start things off, I think we should talk about why you want to do a chain conversion. The belt that the Savage comes with is actually rock solid. It's really good. But if you convert your Savage to a chain drive, it gives you a lot more options for sprockets, and that will let you play around with the gearing. And that can totally change the characteristics of your ride. Maybe you want your engine to rev lower on highway speeds, or maybe you just want to have better fuel economy, or you want better acceleration so you can pop those wheelies, or maybe you just like the old school look of a chain drive. All those are very valid reasons, no judgment here. To do a chain conversion, you actually only need three things. You need a front sprocket, a rear sprocket, and a chain. Let's start out with the sprockets, or maybe more specifically the teeth of the sprockets. And the question we are wondering are, how many teeth should you have on your sprockets? When you're talking about sprockets, or rather gearing, you are talking about a ratio. And the ratio is the amount of teeth on the rear sprocket divided by the amount of teeth in the front sprocket. And that will give you a ratio. From factory, the Savage has 68 teeth on the rear and 23 on the front. And that gives us a ratio of 2.956. But what if we change the front sprocket to a 20 tooth? That will give us a ratio of 3.4. That is a higher ratio, but that actually gives us a lower gearing. A bit confusing, but stay with me. A lower gearing results in lower top speed, but better acceleration. But if we would change the front sprocket to a 25 teeth, that will give us a ratio of 2.72. That is a lower ratio, but it's actually a higher gearing or a taller gearing. And that will give you a higher top speed, but worse acceleration. But it will be a bit better for your fuel economy. And to make this way easier, I have made a chart. And I will put a link to that in the description. And when you have decided if you want to go taller or lower with your gearing, there is one more thing you need to think about. It's pretty simple. Don't use even numbers. You see, when you have sprockets or cogs with even number of teeth, they tend to meet the same teeth every time they go around. And that increases the wear on those teeth. It's a bit hard to explain and you don't really have to understand it. Just know that you should always use uneven amount of teeth on both sprockets. There's actually a concept called hunting tooth, and that is the perfect scenario where every teeth touches another teeth before it touches the first teeth again. I don't know if that made any sense. And it doesn't really matter. The only thing you need to know is to get to the hunting tooth perfection, you need to use prime numbers. And to calculate the prime number actually isn't that hard. You just have to... Just kidding, we won't go down that rabbit hole. I have made it very easy for you. I have marked all the prime numbers in my chart. Alright, now we have decided how many teeth we want on our sprockets. Now we need to find the actual sprockets. And I will make it really easy for you. There is a company called JT Sprockets, and they make sprockets that fits the Savage. The front sprocket is called JTF513. And it's available with 13 teeth all the way up to 18 teeth. But be aware that the 18 teeth sprocket is said to be too big to fit the Savage. So 17 teeth is the largest you should go. And the rear sprocket is called JTR816. And it's available with 38 teeth all the way to 52 teeth. And I think all of those should be alright to run on the Savage. Personally, I think the JT sprockets are great, and that is what I will run on my Savage. But if you want to run any other brand of sprockets, you can actually go to JT Sprocket's website, search for the sprocket, and there you will find a list with all the motorcycles that this sprocket fits. Then you can just pick a model from the list, go to your local motorcycle shop and ask for a sprocket that fits that motorcycle. Because if it fits that motorcycle, it will also fit the Savage. Okay, we've got the sprockets, only one thing left, and that's the shade. I would recommend going with a 520 or 530 chain. The smaller ones aren't really made for big CC street bikes, and chains are so cheap that it's really not worth risking it. You don't want to snap a chain on the highway. 110 link should be enough unless you're going really crazy with the sprocket sizes. But you could always order a 120 link if you want to be sure. Then you have to decide if you want to get an X-ring or an O-ring or whatever letter the marketing department has decided. And I can't really help you there. It's really up to personal preferences. There are tons of videos on YouTube that explains the differences. Go check one of those out and make your decision. And then you also have to decide what kind of master link you want to have. A rivet or a clip. Personally, I would always go for a rivet style master link on a street bike. I think the clip versions are more for race bikes where you need to change your chain often. On a street bike you shouldn't have to do that, and a solid, riveted master link is the best way, I think. I'm sure a lot of people will fight me about that in the comments, and come at me, I'm ready. We got our sprockets, we got our chain, it's finally time to install them. Before you do anything else, you want to remove the front sprocket. It takes a 32mm socket and it can be quite hard to get off. If you've got an impact wrench, now is the time to pull it out. But before I was fortunate enough to own an impact, I have actually used a really long handle. And it works. You put the long handle on the nut and then you'll have a friend standing on the back brake and you put all your force into it and it should pop loose. For this to work, of course, you will need to have your belt still installed. One thing you'll notice is that the old sprocket is really wide. And you actually need some spacers to fill the void when you install your new sprocket. I made my own spacers, but I've seen people use M24 washers, and that should work as well. You can also order an extra front sprocket and just cut off the teeth. That should be fine as well. But the good thing about the washers is that you can put one on either side of the sprocket. That will just align it a bit better. For the rear sprocket, you really just have to take off the old sprocket and put the new one in. It's a good idea to use a bit of Loctite here. And when you're about to install your chain, it's important to remember that it needs some slack. And that is to allow the rear suspension to travel up and down. If it's too tight, it will snap as soon as you hit a bump. The most accurate way to measure the amount of slack that you need is to actually lift the rear wheel, preferably without the rear shocks installed. As you can see, I haven't actually installed my chain yet, so I can't tell you how much slack I needed, but I would guess it would be somewhere around an inch or 25mm. But maybe someone down in the comments has already done this modification and can tell you how much slack they used. And remember that you don't want to have your chain too loose either. It will increase the wear and it would make a lot of noise. And these bikes already have a chain that makes a lot of noise. When you're installing the chain, you might feel that you need a chain tool. Personally, I don't own a chain tool. I have gotten by with an angle grinder to cut the chain and then a ball peen hammer for the rivet link. I guess this is one of the pros with the clip link. You don't actually need to rivet it, you just clip it in. It's pretty nice. But it might be a good idea to get a chain tool because you actually might have to replace the chain down the road. I actually think I will get myself one when it's time to install this chain. And lastly, there are two things that you need to consider when doing a chain conversion on a Savage. And the first thing is that you might not be able to run a chain guard. Or I guess it's called a belt guard on the Savage. Depending on the size of the sprockets and the chain, this bracket right here might be in the way. And that leads us to the second thing, and that is if you remove the belt guard, you will have to put a washer on the bottom mount of the rear shock. Other than that, I think you should be able to rock and roll. I really hope I covered everything in this video, but if I didn't, ask all your questions down in the comments. And if you have already done this conversion, please go to the comments as well and let us know how you like it. And we want to know everything. We want to know the sprockets you're running, the chain you're running, the chain slack, and if you're happy with the modification. Did it actually change anything? And did it get better or did it actually get worse? We want to know everything. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you later. Bye!